you're watching this, then chances are you just finished watching Invincible Season 3 and you cannot wait for Season 4. It's okay to not have patience and want to spoil yourself a bit. That being said, let's get right into the video. Before we start, I want to say thank you all for love and support. It was just 2 weeks ago that I was saying thank you guys for 50 subs, and now we have over 200. So truly, thank y'all, bro. I want to say that from the bottom of my heart, like bro. Let's keep grinding and let's keep going up together. So we pick up where we left off with Nolan and Alan just having escaped prison. Nolan tells Alan that there are less than 50 pure-blooded Viltrumites and proceeds to explain the reason why. And this is when we learn of the Scourge virus, the virus that decimated the Viltrumite race. He explains how it was unique to their genetic code and spread basically like wildfire. And the after effects weren't good, as the virus temporarily weakened the Viltrumite's strength and invulnerability after leaving their system. The virus was so bad it wiped out 99.9% of their population, leaving the Viltrumites on the brink of extinction. The bodies that were thrown in space formed a ring around their planet. Like, damn, what the fuck? So Alan and Nolan head off to the coalition to tell their leader of all the information that Nolan knows on how to defeat the Viltrumite Empire. Back at the base, we find our boy Alan got himself a little fine shit. I mean, like, damn. Her name is Telia, and off rip we can see that she's an understanding girlfriend, as she tells him she doesn't care that he's gone for a long time, as she knows it's part of the job. But what she didn't like was that he slept on the couch. She's trying to get some freaky fun time going. She realizes Alan says we got in late. And as Nolan tried to interrupt without being as awkward as possible, Telia, in a quick act of self-defense, pulls a frickin' death beam out of the damn sofa and blasts away Nolan's clothes, leaving his spaghetti hanging in the living room. As they meet with the leader Theus and tell him about the information Nolan knows, he's conflicted, as he is both Viltrumite and leader against the Viltrumite with the coalition. Nolan, shocked, demands Theus performs the tool lock pull to prove he's an undercover agent. That's that move that we saw in the show when he ripped that beard off to prove to Alan that he was a Viltrumite. He doesn't really care, as he already did it for Alan, until Alan steps up and says, "It's true. Dude, pull this beard right out. It was crazy." Nolan, shocked at this, proceeds to tell them that he feared something was wrong with him for turning his back on the Empire, and for the longest he thought he was the first to be disloyal. Theus tells him that all the data on his betrayal was wiped from their history's record. He then tells Alan and Nolan that they are now tasked with the super top secret mission of gathering all the items and beings that can hurt a Viltrumite. No one is to know about this mission except for them and his most trusted inner circle, as he gives them access to the armory before setting them off on a quest to retrieve any and everything that can hurt and or kill a Viltrumite. And this is when we get our boys looking clean, posing for the camera in a full spread panel, ready for their mission. As they're flying through space, Nolan does some math and tries to find the meteor that he remembered seeing 100 years ago. After finding the meteor they were looking for, we then get to see one of the most broken weapons in the entire series, Space Racer's gun. We then learn he has a special bond to the weapon, and if anyone touches it other than Space Racer himself, it will fly to him and give him the means to win any battle, as nothing can stop the blast from his weapon. But just as he reaches for the weapon, assured that its owner from over 100 years ago is dead, it flies away towards the rubble. And as they begin to dig him out, Nolan calmly tells Alan not to move, as we see them held at gunpoint by none other than the legendary Space Racer himself. And Alan, being Alan, just says, "This guy sure can go a long time without eating." After a bit of scuffling and asteroid evading, they find a moment to talk as Alan describes everything to Space Racer. After hearing them out, he decides to follow them back to the base and join Team Coalition. The next item on the list are the Ragnars, a species so strong they eat Viltrumites alive. We find out that Nolan used a solar disk to block the sun, freezing the dangerous creatures, and now they have to bring the frozen bodies aboard the ship before they thaw out. Requesting help from the ship, Nolan asks them to move the disk over a bit, but for some reason these idiots decide to blow it up, so now they have mere moments before the Ragnars thaw out and become an actual issue. Just as one's being transported, it busts out of its frozen tomb, starting a dangerous battle, putting our heroes' lives at risk. Luckily for them, they manage to escape back into space, heading towards the home base. Theus then tells them not to worry, as there are other ways to gain an advantage against the Viltrumite, and they were tasked with retrieving them. This is when we see our heroes going around, gathering the information and items needing to aid against the Viltrumite Empire. A poisonous bug, tech jacket foreshadowing, a freaking battle beast mentioning. And this is funny because Nolan here is awake every time Alan and his girlfriend are either having sex or arguing about him still being there. Like, look at him, my mans is suffering internally. After meeting with Theus and talking about Alan's sex drive, Nolan voices some concerns he has before being told by Theus he also shares them. As Nolan says he fears the poison, Space Racer, and the items won't be enough, Theus calls him over to show him something. And this is when the truth is revealed. The Scourge virus was able to be made because Theus gave his DNA to the Coalition to make a virus to attack specifically Viltrumite DNA and end their evil empire once and for all. But this time, an improved strain was made, as he tells us that if he deemed the cause lost, he will not hesitate on releasing the new deadlier strain to eliminate every Viltrumite, even if it means suicide for them both. And that's the end of the chapter, as the next chapter picks up beginning with Mark on Earth. Still recovering, he's helping rebuild after the fight with Conquest. And this is when we're introduced to the next problematic character who goes by the name Dinosaurus. He interrupts Mark, stating he interrupts the natural order of things as he serves evil by destroying the civilization with his actions. He states that the devastation worldwide was the best thing that could have happened, as it would have solved the impending overpopulation issues, decreased in carbon emissions, and employed millions, as it would have brought about an era of prosperity and the strongest global economy in history, but he ruined it by getting involved. We also see Eve and her mom getting dinner ready as she thinks Mark will be late before being reassured by Eve that he'll make it. Mark breaks one of his biotic casts, punching Dinosaurus in the face and getting the other bitten off, showing that he is indeed an actual threat. Dinosaurus states, "You are the old way, Invincible. I represent a new world order. Tremble before the might of Dinosaurus." Gets knocked out 1 second later. This is when we see the mad dinosaur turn back into a confused man as he says, "No. Not again." He goes on to tell Mark that his other side is as evil as he is smart and he needs help as it can take back control at any time. This is when Mark locks in and grabs him by the throat before suddenly being interrupted by the new Guardians of the Globe. Robot surprise asks, "What is it you were going to do? Surely you weren't," as all Mark could do was stare in silence. We then cut over to Eve's rooftop as he vents to her, saying he didn't know what to say, as he feels saying it bland and plain. "Yeah, I was gonna kill him. Felt wrong." He says Conquest and Angstrom were different because he killed them and he had a personal stake and snapped. But he felt bad this time as the guy was just some idiot frat boy. Eve, being a great girlfriend, changes the subject and just suggests they go eat. Mark thinking this should be easy as he has no idea what's in store for him. While Mark and the family have dinner, Eve's mom tries to break the ice by making conversation, asking, "Mark, what does your father do for work?" Before her father has an outburst. "Have you lost your mind? You know the boy's father is Omni-Man and he had to fight him to save the planet." Eve gets upset before her mom apologizes, saying it was a dumb question as she just wanted to make conversation. We then see as her father is a real ass. He says how he appreciates and respects Mark for overlooking the fact Eve isn't a virgin, as men like to feel like they're in charge. But it isn't the end of the world when a woman knows her thing or two. All Mark can do is sit in shock before Eve walks in, mocking him, saying, "Told you it would be horrible," as she thanks him for having a chance to dislike her parents as much as she does. The two then go to the prison as they meet with the one in charge to discuss their agreement. He isn't sure if they should continue, as there was an escape attempt shortly after the invasion of the evil Marks, and it happened while he was fighting Conquest. So he isn't sure if Mark will ever be around at all. Eve eventually makes a deal before the two fly off into the sky. Here Mark and Eve talk about how her powers have been acting up for a little while, and it might not be a bad idea to get Oliver to help out with their business. Mark smiles and says, "Speak of the devil," as we see a more grown-up Oliver rocking a new red and black suit appear. We can even see his skin start to turn into a normal human color as his Viltrumite genes start to take over. He says he came to let them know that Mom left the house with Paul and figured they want to know so they can have some freaky fun time with the house all to themselves. He then tells them that fighting the elephant caused his old outfit to rip, and when he went to see Art to get a new one, they both agreed he's getting a little too old for his old costume and suggests an upgrade, and thus young Omni-Man was born. As he flies away, we see Mark, who is definitely happy to hear the news of Mom being away. Cutting to the desert, we see a stronghold, the exact same one that held Conquest. We see him wake up, realizing he's been left alive. He mutters the word "stupid" before effortlessly breaking free from his weak prison and taking off into space, leaving Cecil in complete and utter shock. After that, we then see the Sequids in the sewer, who have just completed all their plans for an invasion and are now ready for an act to take over the Earth. The last thing we see before ending the chapter is Mark trying to tell Eve that they should be gone before his mom gets home so they don't have to make it obvious what they were doing. As she shouts at him to go away, he's confused, thinking he's just bothering her, but little did he know she just found out some of the most shocking news in her entire life. And this is how the chapter ends. Hope you all enjoyed the video. I really like doing this type of content and just about the manga and comics and all that stuff in general, just having a chance to talk to y'all and all that. I do reply to comments, so feel free to go down in the comment section and just let me know how you feel about the chapters and what you guys can't wait to see in the next upcoming Invincible seasons. I'm talking awfully too quick. I'm trying to get it all out of my mind. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe, as well as it shows me you guys are enjoying the content and want to see more. And I don't even know what goal we should hit next. At this point, let's just hit 300. Let's just reach the whole high, you know? Let's reach the stars.